What is Core Synchronism? This is work that I do, Core Synchronism. It's a therapeutic modality that is a combination of cranial osteopathy and polarity therapy. Osteopathic cranial work began at the turn of last century with a man named William Sutherland, who began manipulating the body through the tidal fluctuation of cerebral spinal fluid, the fluid of our central nervous system. Polarity therapy is the other modality created by Randolph Stone, also in the middle of last century, a form of energetic bodywork. Core Synchronism is the blending of these two modalities, as well as some other palpatory realizations that were realized by a man named Dr. Robert Stevens, who is the director of the New Mexico School of Natural Therapeutics in Albuquerque. The New Mexico School of Natural Therapeutics in Albuquerque. Good place. Core Synchronism. Safe, gentle, fully clothed, deeply relaxing. It is supporting the natural therapeutic principle of relaxation. It's supporting a parasympathetic nervous response in our bodies, which is the function of our rest and digest nervous system, as opposed to the fight or flight nervous system. We enter into deep, deep therapeutic states of relaxation. Our body can rest, and then our body can digest. It can perform its natural function. It can integrate the nutrition of life that we've received. It can, at deep states of relaxation, begin to integrate traumatic information that has been confusing to us, that can be digested, let go of. This process of integration and release, I believe, is also called healing. This is the body's business, because the body is part of nature. And this is nature's business, because nature is part of the divine wisdom. Only God and nature heal. So Core Synchronism, let me tell you a bit about it. In modern circles, we're largely fluid. The fluid that is in one part of our body versus another, it's oftentimes the same fluid, it's just called by different names. When it's in the tissues, it's interstitial fluid, extracellular fluid. It's in the blood, it's blood plasma. It's in the lymph, it's lymphatic fluid. When it filters across the blood-brain barrier and into our brain, it becomes cerebral spinal fluid. Highly, highly filtered fluid. This fluid gets filled into the ventricles, which are the spaces that exist within the cavities of the brain. Fills these spaces. The brain swells to accommodate this motion. The spine drops to accommodate this motion. And the connective tissue of the body, the fascia, which wraps every little muscle fiber. Indeed, if you were to take every muscle fiber out, every bone, every organ, and just have a connective tissue body left laying on the table, you'd have this exact replica of yourself in a fluid saran wrap. This beautiful, clear, lucid body of connective tissue. The connective tissue has hollow collagen fibers running throughout it. Cerebral fluid permeates the fascia, the connective tissue, through these hollow collagen fibers. So as that blood-brain barrier passes blood into the cavities of the ventricles, the brain swells, the spine expands, and all of the connective tissue, pinky toe and all, blossom to accommodate this motion, like flowers opening. Yeah, flowers closing. It reaches a natural buoyancy, and then it gets reabsorbed. The petals close. The light of the sun has gone, and everything comes into rest. And then the light returns. So this connective tissue body can experience trauma in the form of direct accidents, which will confuse the parts, creating dyssyncretistic relationships amongst the parts. We can have mental and emotional content that is so aggravating to our lives that it literally heats like an anger that melts that connective tissue, creating tension in our back and our posture, and our mental and emotional lives can distort this tissue body. So what Core Synchronism does is it uses the fluctuation of cerebral fluid to buoyantly float tension out of this body, to bring dysynchronistic parts back into balance. If all of the flower petals are opening and one's closing, there's confusion. And in that confusion, friction is created. In that friction, inflammation sets in. Inflammation is the beginning of a pain cycle. It's the beginning of nutrition not arriving to tissues, waste not draining from tissues, tissue decay. Simple mechanical confusion. So we use the fluid to float the body back into balance. And in doing that, we create such a deep state of parasympathetic rest that whatever confusion initially set that in, when we let it go, the body says thank you and is able to enter a deep state where it can integrate what was confusing it for so long. Let it go. It can heal. This is the body's business. Balance. It wants to live in balance. For some reason, through our own lifestyle choices and ignorance and trauma, we've found ourselves out of balance. Quite a bit, actually. The energetic piece of Core Synchronism is that that physical body, that fluid body, is being influenced by an energetic principle. So the old metaphysicians saw it a little differently. Indeed, it wasn't the blood simply passing across the blood-brain barrier, filling the ventricles of the brain, that created the production of cerebral fluid. But these chambers, these ventricles, where the choroid plexus drips water, cerebral fluid, pure, highly refined fluid into the brain, was seen as the indwelling place where, when the soul would enter into the body, it would condense. So the soul would come in, and as that spiritual principle entered into the ventricles of the brain, the spirit would condense on the walls like in a moist cave, and it would drip off into the ventricles like a brain dew. And so that brain dew was potent spirit. It was the intelligence of our souls captured in a physical medium, liquid, cerebral fluid, to be communicated to all the tissues of the body, carrying the wisdom of our soul so that the vital intelligence of nature could perform all the functions that it needed to, so that we could experience all the joy and beauty of this life. Health, happiness, having a holistic relationship to ourselves, that we could function. When our structure was balanced in relationship to these fluid fluctuations, we had ease, peace, and healthy function. So, Core Synchronism is an effort to balance these tissues through very subtle, gentle manipulations that works with our brain, all the organ systems of our whole body, indeed, very much our skeletal system, muscular system, the whole thing, endocrine glands, so that they're balanced. And in their balanced relationship, they can function. And in that balance, there's an ease. There's a deep ease, a place of relaxation where the intelligence of our soul can work, can operate, can permeate the tissues, and do the business that it's always done, which is to heal us. So Core Synchronism is a form of fluid mechanics, because indeed, core practitioners are not healers. We're mechanics. We're trying to see where the confusion lies and create ease there, so that nutrition can arrive to the tissues, waste can drain, health can manifest. Tissues, the soil of our life, can generate all the health that lies within us. Core treatments, fully clothed, safe, gentle, deeply relaxing. And in my experience, potent.